Listening to Spectrum on 105.9 WJZW and WBZS and WZHF. I'm Thomas Grooms, and our guest this morning is Verve recording artist Jeff Lorber. Jeff, good morning. Welcome to Spectrum.
Thanks for having me on.
You have a brand new CD out entitled State of Grace. I know you're very excited about it. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what went into making this project.
Okay, well, this is my third record for Verve, and I sort of had taken a few years off in between my tenure with Arista and Warner Brothers in the early 80s and then working with Verve. And so it's been sort of a new learning experience for me making these records. And I just sort of tried to put into action all the things that I learned from making the previous two records. I really analyzed them and decided what it was that I liked about them and tried to maximize those elements and minimize the things, you know, that I wasn't quite as happy about how it turned out. And basically, it's a very melodic, sort of funky record, which I tried to keep very spontaneous, very sort of a little bit raw, and very natural in terms of using a lot of acoustic instruments and retro instruments, retro keyboards like B3, Hammond organ, Wurlitzer, things like that.
Our guest this morning, Jeff Lorber, and we're talking about his brand new CD on Verve, State of Grace. Over the years, you have played with some of the finest jazz musicians in the business, and especially when the word fusion comes up, you think of Jeff Lorber because you were one of the pioneers going back to the 1970s. We used to play you 20-some years ago. On this particular CD, State of Grace, who's with you on the lineup?
Same guys that I'm touring with, very luckily. Marlon McLean on guitar, and also a couple other guitar players, Mike Landau, who's a sort of famous LA session guy, and a guy named Stuart Weiland, who I hadn't met before, but he plays some real interesting things. He was recommended by my co-producer, Mickey Petralia, on this record. John Robinson played all the drums, Nathaniel Phillips played all the bass, and I'm joined by Art Porter on saxophone, and Gary Meek on mostly flute and also bass clarinet.
And Art and Gary have their own solo projects out.
That's right. Yeah, Art's got a new one that's coming out real soon.
Well, Jeff, why don't you play disc jockey this morning on Smooth Jazz 105.9 and pick something off of State of Grace?
Okay, well, why don't we play my favorite track, which is the title track of State of Grace.
Any story behind this before we fire it up?
Well, I wrote it with Dave Koz, and Dave moved to San Francisco, and he was renting a house that was built by an architect. It was his own house, and it was just absolutely phenomenal, just beautiful wood and sort of Japanese style overlooking the San Francisco Bay. So it was a really, that's where we wrote it, was up there together, sort of. It was nice to get away and get into such a inspiring atmosphere. And the main thing that we were going after was we just really wanted to try to come up with something that was really unusual and really different than what we normally do. And this song is sort of influenced a little bit by, I think, Celtic folk music. It has like a real simple harmonic structure that's haunting.
Here's State of Grace. Jeff Lorber, Washington's unique radio station, WJZW, Smooth Jazz 105.9. You're listening to Spectrum. Our guest this morning, Jeff Lorber, and we just heard something from his brand new CD, State of Grace. Who were some of your major influences as far as keyboardists go?
Well, I think Herbie Hancock is the biggest influence. I really love his style, but I also studied sort of the history of bebop piano. Red Garland's one of my favorites. Wynton Kelly also, the bands that Miles Davis had in the 60s that included those two pianists. Of course, Horace Silver, McCoy, trying to think, Bill Evans. There's so many who I really admire and enjoy their playing.
Why don't we play a few of these artists right now?
Okay, sure. Okay, well, why not play Herbie Hancock's new one, Thieves in the Temple? Okay. Okay. You're listening to Thieves in the Temple by Herbie Hancock on Smooth Jazz 105.9.
You're listening to Spectrum. Our guest this morning is Jeff Lorber. Jeff has a brand new CD out called State of Grace. Jeff, what's ahead for you and the band in 1996?
Well, hopefully we're planning on doing some extensive touring, both in the U.S. and also internationally. And I got a few little producing projects that I'm working on. I'm working on a girl right now named Sunny Southern, who's a very fine vocalist that I'm just about to finish up that record. It should be coming out in the first quarter of '97. So I would like everyone to try to check that out when it comes out.
You have influenced many people's careers, including Kenny G.
Yeah, I guess so.
Kenny played with you in the old days?
Right, for about 5 years.
And what can you say about Kenny and what he's doing now in 1996?
Kenny was, Kenny was very, he's very bright and enthusiastic and ambitious young man, and so I was very impressed with him when I first auditioned him for my band. And we were good friends, and we worked together for quite some time. I helped him. I think I can say that it's fair to say that I helped him learn how to write music and helped him do his first demos and his first record.
You definitely recognized talent early on.
Did I recognize his talent? I really can't quite say that that instantly I knew he was a star or anything like that, but I really liked his energy. I think he learned really fast. I was really impressed with that, how quickly he was able to sort of adapt to my band and sound really good. And that's what impressed me more, was just sort of his rapid growth during the time we were together.
Over the years, you've shared the bill with many, many jazz musicians. What were some of the most impressive moments?
I think being in the studio with some great musicians is really like some of the more exciting things that comes to mind, like working with people like Michael Franks, Eric Marienthal, Art, Tower of Power, Herb Alpert. I mean, all these artists, they're all like such. They have such a unique and wonderful approach to what they do, and it's just I'm their biggest fan when I'm in the studio producing them. I'm just sort of as in awe of their talent as anyone, and I think it's like too good that I'm actually getting paid for sitting there and listening to these guys play, and that's some of the most fun that I have as a producer.
Our guest this morning has been Jeff Lorber, Verve recording artist. He has a brand new CD out, State of Grace. Definitely pick it up. Before you split, Jeff, maybe you'll pick another track from this CD and give us a little sneak preview as to what else might be the next single.
Well, we don't really put out singles particularly. We kind of let radio just play what they want because it's that kind of format. But why don't you put on Cat Paws? That's sort of a nice funky track. I like the feel of that one quite a bit.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
And next time you get into D.C., come by the studio and sit in with us.
Love to.